Welcome to Sell It Sista, part 2 of Cash is King. I'm Molly Amick.
And I'm Carri Owens.
And I'm Megan Bengtson, and we are here with the ever so famous Owen Dashner.
There you go.
Welcome.
Hey, gang.
He's becoming our
Thanks for
idol
having me.
quickly.
Yes.
Welcome back, Owen. This is part 2. We've been talking about Cash is King, and if you did not tune in to part 1, go back and watch it.
Yeah.
It's a great
learned a lot.
episode. Yes, we are sitting here learning all kinds of things. B-R-R-R-R.
Burr.
Yeah.
Burr.
I've seen it written. I had no idea what it meant. So that's a teaser to go back and watch part 1. So we've been talking about red letter properties
solutions.
and liquid lending. And we're going to talk about why cash is important. I want to talk a little bit more about this hard money and liquid lending. Like, do you feel like more of these, I mean, you've seen great success in the last 18 months with liquid lending. You feel like more of these are cropping up? Like, I've seen some snippets of even just some realtors loaning money, hard money, like for a crazy percentage, and just having an attorney drop a contract just so their buyers can play in the game. But are you seeing more of this crop up?
Yeah, and it's been interesting because after we got our legs under us a little bit and started having, pretty decent volume and regular, we're lending all our money out, people were like, hey, I've got money. Can I buy in? Like, can I buy in? Can I get some equity in the business? And we're like, oh, no. We did the hard part.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly,
like, you can loan us money. We'll
Right,
take
yeah.
your money and then loan that back out and you'll get a good return. But sorry, that ship sailed.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I think some of those people have gone and said, okay, well, that's a good idea. I could do this. And certainly anybody can get into the business. I would say you have to have a good attorney and you have to research state regulations because they vary widely from state to state. Like, we're like, hey, we know some people in South Dakota that are good operators. Let's, start there. Looked into that, and it's like, no way. I mean, they're so strict, and we did the same thing with Arizona.
Okay.
And there's like, you have to have a brick and mortar location, you have to be a licensed mortgage originator, and there's like all these regs, right?
So with being so close to the river, I mean, I'm assuming you can do both Nebraska and Iowa.
Yep.
And just for us in Omaha, like, so many of us are licensed in Iowa, licensed in Nebraska, but again, with just our proximity. Is Iowa a lot different than Nebraska, or which one's stricter?
Iowa is a mortgage state and Nebraska is a deed of trust state. However, in Iowa, you can also do a deed of trust, which is always easier if you're on the the lending side. So typically that's what we do. Okay. And the tricky thing about Iowa is the main difference is when you get outside of like Council Bluffs and kind of like our little area, Southwest Iowa, you go to Des Moines, everybody closes with attorneys.
Right.
Like title companies are not the norm.
thing.
It's more attorneys.
They still abstract over there, though, right?
They do,
Okay.
yeah. Iowa's one of 2 abstract states, Alaska and Iowa, I believe.
Wow, interesting. Keeping it old school.
So, yeah.
Just like you.
Ouch. We're insulting
Wow, this
people
is
today.
nice. I'm usually the one that's personally
better be
attacked for my age.
Oh, you know I love you.
But if you listen to episode 1, I find it interesting because we've all gotten into real estate investing, but we've all started flipping first to get that cash.
Yep.
And I've had other people, our first flip was just crazy. I had these super unreal expectation. It was a great house in Dundee, and we were $30,000 over budget, 10 weeks late. Kind of like you, we learned a lot.
You learn more from your mistakes than you do your victories,
True.
I feel.
In
So
anything in life, but we learned a lot. We still made money, which was great, but it was just. But like you said, I had so many friends that came and like, next house, if you need a partner financially, we're in. We're here. I want to get involved in this, and I'm just like,
Do you paint?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you demo? And it's just interesting, and so it's just like getting that money to do the next step. Is you got to start somewhere. Not everybody has Daddy Warbucks. I wish, but so you got to start
Or
somewhere.
liquid lending in your back pocket.
Exactly. But he started like we did. You flipped a couple, and then you started in the rental. And I think that's good for our listeners to know. If I want to do it, how do I start? And it's just you got to obviously build up that nest egg in order to buy the first rental. Because I'm again a little Iowa Bank is my funder, and but we're on number 5 now. I still have to put 25% down on every deal. So
Yep.
So I'm optimistic for us.
Exactly.
I know.
Big things could happen for us.
Exactly.
You are totally inspirational.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're up on a pedestal.
Well,
right
I
there.
also have imposter syndrome, so like, thank you, but I don't believe you type thing. That's
Right, right.
usually how that works.
So can I ask, is it gauche to say how many rentals do you have?
I have about 155 doors. So
Okay. Wow.
That's a mix of single families, which between the ones I owned before Brandon and I got together with Red Ladder,
Okay.
and the ones we own together. I think Brandon and I have about 30-ish
Okay,
together.
together.
And then I had, about, I think, 90 or so units before he and I got together. So those were all mine.
Okay.
And then Brandon and I got together, so we have 30. And then I've done a couple of apartment deals where I bought a 24 unit. I got it under contract. I didn't bring any of the money. I brought in partners. They brought
nice.
the money, funded it, managed it, turned it around. And I still have 25% equity, and we've cashed out, refied, and yeah, that's been awesome.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy, I mean, you are now a much bigger investor than us ladies right here.
Right.
I mean, so usually a normal stepping stone is you start with single family and then you kind of move up from there. Are you still at all even playing in the single family realm at all?
Yeah.
Is that you are? Okay.
What I really, really like and believe in the Med Center and what they're doing with all the expansion. They're going to add 10,000 jobs. They're going to have, $2 billion, the tower projects.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a ton of jobs and a ton of people that are wanting to live around that area. So we've started to kind of transition. When I first started, I bought what I could.
Yep, right. That's
I would
yeah.
buy $25,000, $30,000, $40,000 houses, and I'd rehab them to the point where they were nice, but they're still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're never going to appreciate like crazy,
Correct.
although I look really smart now for
exactly.
buying those.
Yeah.
But I was able to kind of lever those and trade up into other properties. But the Med Center thing, I'm buying nicer stuff than I ever have.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the other transition that happens. It's like, I still like single families. As a matter of fact, we just put one on the market for $2,000 rent, and it's a probably $270,000 house. So we refied, got most of our money back out, and then rented it. It's not going to cash flow a ton, but it's an awesome house.
So are you, I mean, I guess, let's say Owen investor 2005, Owen investor 2022. Are you more concerned about cash flow or appreciation, or does it matter? Because again, kind of listening to a bunch of different investors, some are like, I just need it to cash flow, I don't care if it appreciates, or vice versa, or is it, I mean, have you transitioned in your way of doing it, or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
When I first started, I was like, I got to, I think the critical mass for me when I say that, I mean like full-time job, 2 kids, wife, like trying to be a good husband, good dad, and good employee, and then also a good real estate investor.
Right.
I started failing at really all of them kind of at the same time.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm not, I have high standards, or high expectations for myself, right? So I was really disappointed with how things were going, and I'm like, something has to give. But I was always like, cash flow, because I want to exceed my monthly expenses, right? The whole Robert Kiyosaki thing.
Yeah.
So I was trying that, and then I was like, okay, I don't even remember what I was making per month net cash flow at the time, but it wasn't enough. And I was like, this is going to take forever. Like, you buy single family houses, it's like you start making more money, and then you got to buy more, and then so I was like, I have to do something, because I'm still self-managing all these, and I'm not doing a good job about staying on top of showings and tenant turns and all that.
Right.
And so I was like, I gotta bite the bullet and hire a property manager.
Okay.
And so I did that.
Okay.
And then I was like, I'm such an idiot. Like, it was rented in like a week. They got like $150 more than I would have charged because I'm a pushover.
Right, right. You're feeling bad. Oh, you got 2 little kids. And you work at Walmart.
And the operating expense of that is like negligible.
Yeah, it paid for itself more than that. And I was just like, I'm so dumb. And so I learned. That was a learning moment. And then I was like, all right, well, I'm going to start peeling these off when they become vacant. And then as I started buying more, I started doing that, and I was like, God, this is so much easier. Right. And I'm not making as much money, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, because the expenses are always there. But I was like, this, oh man, it's like that.
Free up your time.
That's our Ape-type personalities of like, I have to have all the control.
Yes.
And,
Right.
but and it's like, once you start to relinquish it, you're like, wait,
Why didn't I do this before?
like my actual life
yeah.
is better.
And
Right.
building those assets and leaving that legacy for your girls is just, I mean, it's invaluable, especially being able to buy in this market and pay cash. And I mean, your head above the rest.
You know, the thing is about like partnerships and things that you learn as you go along by doing things the wrong way, or at least you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And the only way that you are going to get more informed is by talking to people. And
Yep.
I was
Right.
like afraid to talk to anybody because I still had a full-time job, and I
Right.
don't like want
Yeah, I
that
can
to
see
get out.
that.
I'm like,
Right.
oh, are you paying attention to what you're doing? You
Yeah.
know, even though I was doing a good job at it, I was just like, I felt weird.
Right.
And so
I mean, I guess for me personally, I mean, like in real estate and just doing all the things I've done through leadership, it's like it is literally building relationships. And I don't know if people always understand or value how important these relationships are with our fellow realtors, your fellow investors, and like just being a newer investor myself and being introduced to the Omaha REIA and things like that. I mean, everyone is so welcoming, and it's not a competition. It's
Right.
how can I help you grow? How can I help you do better? You know, oh, is there something we could team up with? I don't know. It's just, it's extremely refreshing, and just, there's a great energy and vibe about it.
Yeah.
yeah, so I think I got a little off topic there, but it
No.
was. I had like a bunch of epiphanies along the way where I was like, I don't have to do all this myself. And I kind of felt dumb for doing it, but I was glad I went through the process because I think if I would have done that earlier, I wouldn't have been prepared.
Right.
And
It's kind of like owning a restaurant, though. I mean, I don't think you can ever really own a restaurant unless you have been a busboy and done the dishes and cocktail.
Whatever profession it is. It's like,
Yeah.
as long as you know, like, how to do all the jobs, then you can then better, you know, make sure that those things are being covered. Because if you have no idea what it is, then, I mean, you don't even know if your business is being ran properly or not.
Right.
So,
100%, especially with property management,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
like property management is a thankless job,
Agreed.
right? You're never happy,
Right.
you know, as a customer of a property management company. The tenants are never happy.
Right.
You know, it's
They're
just
never
like
here. They
Yeah.
don't
yeah, they get it
call,
from both
yeah.
sides. So
Yeah.
I feel because I've been there,
Right,
and I
right.
know that. But I also know that job does not cost $200 to do. That took you like 5 minutes. All right, so get this figured out. This
Yeah.
charge that I'm seeing.
Yeah.
So
Yep,
that
yep.
that helps a lot. Like
Yeah.
you said, validate basically what you're, you know, what you know and what you could do the job for yourself.
Agreed.
What all's involved.
So what would be the disadvantage to a large bank offering a cash product? So I recently heard one of the large lenders in town is offering a cash product where they would actually buy the house, offer, you know, you have to be well qualified. And so it'd be for a 20% conventional buyer. And then the lender would actually buy the house for you, and then 6 weeks later or whatever, you do the appraisal and buy it back from them as a FSBO.
So just to make sure I understand the question. So what is the risk of the bank doing that, or why don't banks do that?
What's the disadvantage for the buyer?
Well, I think that sounds like a pretty cool
Right.
method.
I would look at it. I mean, again, if we're looking versus liquid lending versus that option, time.
Right.
Like you,
Yeah,
you
this
they,
seems
this
a lot
one,
more convenient.
Correct.
Fast.
Yes.
Cleaner.
My mind immediately went to Zillow when you said that. They tried to get in the house buying business, and they're
They're getting
Yeah,
out
and-
Yeah.
and
billions in the
they're-
hole.
they got like 4,000
Yeah.
homes that they're trying to liquidate now,
Yeah.
and they're going to take a bath.
Yes.
Yep.
So I was just thinking, like, I don't know that long-term banks are probably going to be in that business, but like you said, if they're well-qualified buyers, then maybe. I haven't heard of that, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
With this rising interest rate market too, like, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how much they pull the reins back.
Right.
I've heard people tell me that refis are a little tougher now.
I would love to ask you about that. So, what's your? I'm gonna put you on the spot and
boy.
you know get out your crystal ball.
Okay.
What do you anticipate is going to happen in the future of real estate? And vast majority of investors, I would say, are buying a lot with like commercial financing, which is usually kind of like a 5-year arm, things like that. And then so you got decent rates now, but in those 5 years, what are the rates going to be? Is that going to? I mean, how do you think that's going to affect the investor world?
I think that runaway appreciation we've had is going to slow because your debt service coverage ratios are going to be thrown off if there's a refinance coming up. And if somebody has a variable rate, and let's say it went from 4, and let's say you fast forward a year from now and rates are now at 7.5 or something like that, which
it's possible.
Yeah, I read an article today. It sounds like the Fed's going to try increasing 0.5% on their next raise, which is in May, I believe, and then June and July could be another 0.5%.
Right.
If this inflation keeps going. Right. So I think it's going to stem the appetite for people because the debt service coverage ratio is not going to be there. So I think it's going to slow the inflation. It'll probably do what they're designing it for.
Right.
But it's going to put the squeeze on people that bought on the wrong side of the market, that maybe have bought in the last year or so, and they're like, oh, I need to find a deal, everybody's getting in, and then they buy it, and it's like, well, guess what? That thing's going to reset. Maybe it's in 3 years. Not all of them are 5, but a lot of them are.
A lot of them are.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that'll change the tune of a lot of people because that's going to put the squeeze on your cash flow, and banks will be like, hey, you're not covering your minimum 1.25 DSCR, so. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it's just kind of like what. Yeah, I think it's gonna slow people down, and again, it's like it's not as easy as it looks.
Yeah, and I think it's gonna be. There's so many unknowns right now with the Russia and Ukraine conflict and how that's all going to play out with NATO and how involved are we going to be? Is it going to be World War III? Like, there's so many things we can't predict, but. Right. And that's driving like the commodities markets nuts because we have this huge swings in gas prices and oil and everything else. So I think it's going to be kind of like COVID, right? So when COVID came out, nobody knew what is normal,
right?
And people are like, and if you said to me, and I'm this is why stuff like this doesn't age well. I did a podcast.
Unlike you two.
Yeah. Like fine wine.
Thank you. I did it was an article that I did. I got interviewed. I think it was like American Express Business Insights or something.
Okay.
And they were like, what do you think the market's going to do now that COVID's here? And this is like March, right?
Right.
So we don't, nobody knows anything. And I'm like, oh, well, small retail is going to probably take a huge hit. Office is going to, probably you're going to see a lot of vacancies in the commercial space and all this stuff, right? So I just kind of was like, logically, there's going to be a lot of foreclosures, jobs lost because people can't go in and all this. And I'm like, and what happened?
Yeah.
Government
paid everything.
Yeah, government stepped in and went like this. And they're like, here's $2.9 trillion.
Right.
Yeah.
And now it's like everybody's surprised that there's inflation. It's like we just increased the monetary supply by like 80%.
Well, we were all living this euphoric high and like all this extra money. Now it's like, okay, wait, we have to actually
pay it back.
Pay it back, and it's got to balance itself out.
So I did not see that coming. I didn't see the CDC's moratorium on evictions coming.
No.
The foreclosure stoppages and all that.
Right.
So
did you have a lot of issues with tenants and inability to pay rent or working with them? Or getting any sort of government or even private entities just support with that? Yeah,
we had several that sought out rental assistance. So what my property management company did is they put like a packet together that said, if this, then that, and here's some resources for you, and you can get rent assistance and all these things.
So you're being very proactive.
They were,
about it. Okay.
I can't take credit for it because they put it together, but they, we were all on the same page about it. And I had a few that I had were longer term tenants where I was like, I'll cut you a break, and it's tough.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
Yeah, you feel bad for those people working. The restaurants, the service industry that people shut down. Even now, some of the service industry. I have people in retail. I didn't realize that the outlet mall is only open 11 to 6. They used to be 9 to 9.
Yeah, they're curbing hours.
They're curbing it, and they still haven't gotten back. And
Nebraska Furniture Mart. 10.
Yeah. So it's just crazy that But again, maybe that's more of the workforce, and they can't find people to work, but it's just, I think some of the industries have changed the way they operated. Well, just like people working from home now. I have clients that, she's like, I'm not taking a job that my office is going back in June. I'm looking for a new job because I'm never going to go back to the office.
Right.
So I was just like, interesting.
Well, and then you have, because I was looking at it like, all right, you got these big office buildings, right, where they're like, and Cox Communications is a good example because my friend Kevin is an HR there, and I just went on a golf trip with him, and he's like, we have huge buildings in like Atlanta where they used to have call centers, and
Right.
it used to be like, oh no, everybody has to be here.
Yeah,
We have to
yeah.
have them in the same place because we don't think they're going to work or be
if they-
productive.
right.
And guess what? They have software for that.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So they all work from home and no loss in productivity, and now they have these gigantic pieces of real estate that they're
Right.
paying utilities, insurance, cleaning, all that stuff on.
Yep.
It's like they're probably going to sell that. What's
Right.
that going to turn into? So that's what I was a little off on my
Right.
timing. I
Well,
think,
even
but-
Omaha, that there's so many, like the Mutual of Omaha, if they're going to
Yeah.
build the new thing and they're taking down their old tower, what's that going to be? You know, so it's just.
It'll be something. I think Omaha is our real estate market. I feel like is so strong. I feel like real estate investments are really well protected. I think rents are only.
I just,
on the way
commercial
up.
to me, though, is a different animal than
Mm-hmm.
residential. I think, residential is always going to be strong. People need somewhere to live. Another investor told me, he goes, there's a coffee shop on every corner, and another one's coming and put that location out of business, but everyone has to have a home to live in. So he's like, that's always going to be consistent.
Well, it's a basic need.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we are fortunate in that we're kind of we have the coastal areas that are like the canary in the coal mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like the Bay Area and any California, New York, Boston, Florida, Vegas, we have all of those that are probably going to have leading indicators on what exactly is happening in the national level from the housing market.
Yeah.
That exactly happened in 08.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had all those condos being built in Florida and Vegas, and then they just got abandoned because builders went out of business.
Right.
So I think we have that, and we're probably going to get some good ideas about, all right, is it cooling off?
Right.
Is this, are we going sideways? Is it just stagnant? But the problem is, we aren't going to have any more supply.
Right.
Right.
It's not like there's going to be, 100,000 houses that fall out of the sky.
Yeah.
Correct.
No, there's not. I wish
So-
there were.
Yeah.
Well, even, and it's hard because I think it's just a slower process now because I have so many people, they can't sell because they want to build. You used to be able to build a house in 9 to 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I just had a meeting with a high-end builder. He's 20 months from when they dig the hole. So that's a 2-year project now.
Yep.
That used to be a 9-month project.
Ton of risk there.
Yeah. So now my buyer that's going to build a new house can't sell their house, so it's just
So
it's
you're on hold for 2
slow.
years.
2 years.
Yeah.
And I was just like, 2 years.
Yeah, and then you have the supply chain problem
Yeah.
with materials and lumber prices
Well, and that's what
affect
they
a
said.
lot
We
of it.
can't,
and-
we got caught up in contracts and, and we all went through new construction where, we signed a contract price. Well, then everybody threw in these escalation clauses when lumber went crazy.
Yeah.
And so now no one will do a definite price. Here's what we're projecting the cost will be. So it's just a market that no one saw happening.
I used to go whenever we were doing like a starter house flip, right?
Yeah.
I would go and get stainless appliances, and I'd get the basic Frigidaire,
Yeah.
18.1 cubic feet fridge, and
Yeah.
then a over the range microwave and
Yeah.
all that. And it was $1,700, and if I had to pay more than that, I knew that I could shop a little bit and
Right,
find
right.
my whole package of 4 appliances for $1,700.
Yeah.
Now it's like
Can't even get
you
a
go in and
fridge.
you're like, yeah, well, you can have this, but it's like 20 weeks out.
Yeah,
you're like,
right.
fine, give me the $2,000 fridge or whatever. You're just like
Because I need it.
Yeah, because you need it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like you gotta either be really good about planning now,
Right.
or just eat the cost and be like, whatever.
And
I'll
you can
just try
still
and make it
even
up.
be really good at planning, and it's like, oh, now it's delayed. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we've got
It's on a
furniture on
truck.
order, and it's like, it was supposed to be in April. Well, now September, and we're hoping for that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just,
Yeah.
what do you do?
Yeah.
My best is on the flip that was 11 leaks long and 30,000 over budget. We had ordered a cool Joanna Gaines door from Lowe's and paid way too much money for it. And all of a sudden, I don't know, I was looking at my bank account and I had a credit. And I'm like, what the heck? That same day, then Lowe's calls and they just canceled the
Canceled
order.
it. Yeah.
Yep.
I got my money, but they gave me my money back. But I was like,
I need the door.
Cancel it.
Yeah.
So instead, my contractor made squares on the door we had, and
Oh
it
my
sold.
God.
It's fine.
One thing I gotta say is I kind of look back and I miss the days when I was like, oh, the design part of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it was fun and
Yeah.
I'd go shopping for different stuff
Yeah.
on
Yep.
every house.
Right.
Now it's just kind of like, all right, we're using the same paint,
Yeah.
same door,
Well, I was-
same
Yeah.
just get it done
Yeah.
and get it out. So I kind of miss the creativity part of it a little bit.
Right, and searching for that deal and be like amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and Megan's told me, there was a deal at Costco.
Oh, yeah.
With the Kohler sink faucet. And she's like, I went, so yeah, I was there the other day. I'm like, oh, here they are. let's buy 3. I don't know. It's all done. I don't know what projects are going in, but I have 3 sinks and 3 faucets in my garage.
And I feel like that too right now. It's like we're just like hoarding things.
Yeah,
you find
just in
something
case.
that's a good deal and you're like, okay, like I don't know when I'm going to use it again.
Oh.
But
You want to hear a topic on that? How dumb I am. So I was pretty busy while I was working, and I had a contractor working for me. I totally trusted him. He had my credit card
Yep,
and all
yep.
that. And just because he's there, he can buy the materials. I don't have to make a special trip.
Exactly,
And pay for it. I'm like, see you later. So he would pay for all of it, but he'd be walking through somewhere, and I'm busy, and I'm getting ready for a meeting or whatever, and he'll call and be like, hey, what's up? Oh, there's a pallet of tile for sale, a half price.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, okay, get it.
Yeah.
And then, I don't even remember that conversation sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'll be
Right.
like, what the hell is this pallet of tile doing in there? And then finally I had to get 2 different storage units that were big,
Okay.
long, a
Right.
semi-truck long. And I have all this crap in it. I have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
And then before long, it was like, all right, we're cleaning a place out after we're done with the rehab. And they're just throwing caulking and paint in there. You can't do that. It's all
Yeah,
frozen.
yeah.
Exactly.
And then one of the units flooded, and I lost half. I'm like, what am I doing? I don't.
So because,
I'm literally any discount I'm getting on this material, I'm just eroding that by paying $200 a month out to the stupid storage company. So
Do you have a honey oak vanity?
yeah, right?
Because I've been
I have
waiting
no
here.
idea. I walk in there, I'm like, there's some doors. Wish I wouldn't have bought those last
Exactly.
week. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us this month for our second Part 2 episode with Owen Dashner. Owen, thank you so much for coming on.
My
This might have been
pleasure.
one of our funniest, most fun episodes
Exactly.
to shoot.
Well, thank you.
We are looking
I'm honored.
forward to your REIA Radio podcast on Wednesdays. They drop on Apple, and the REIA Omaha meetup.
Yep.
I know you've got Greg Kutchell coming
Yeah,
up.
he's coming up. That'll be a good
May
one.
3rd.
Okay.
You can check out the REIA Omaha Facebook page if you want more information on that. Check out Liquid Lending, Red Ladder Property
There you go.
Solutions.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And check out Sell It Sista. We are on Facebook, sellitsista.com, YouTube
Boom.
channel, Facebook, wherever you listen to your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google.
And remember, today is whatever you make it, and we're going to make it a great day. Thank you.
thanks.